Friends, welcome to another episode of Making Disciples, and today's episode is an interview with a new friend, Mojtaba. He is originally from Iran. He's a Muslim convert to Christianity, and he's going to share a bit of his story with us in this episode. But his faith took him on a journey so that he was imprisoned twice, once for 21 days and once for 3 years. And for 3 years, he was in prison for sharing his faith with people. He then becomes a refugee, ends up in Turkey for a period of time, and now lives in the UK. But he's amazing. His story of his commitment to Jesus in the face of suffering. This is real persecution. I think what many of us experience in terms of persecution is actually just mild intolerance. Like people just are frustrated with us. And most of the time, I think when we say I'm being persecuted, it's often because Christians are being obnoxious and rude, and they're being called out for it, and they call it persecution. I think what we've experienced in the West, it's not real persecution. Like what he experiences in Iran is real persecution. So I'd love you to hear his story, and then I'd love you to spend some time after this episode just praying for what God is doing in Iran. It really is exciting. So that's enough from me. My name is Cris Rogers. I'm your host on this episode of Making Disciples. Please subscribe, please share, please leave a comment. What would you have liked to have asked him in today's episode if you could? And if we get enough comments, we'll get him back to answer your questions. So friends, here we go, an interview with my new brother from another mother from Iran. Mojtaba, welcome to Making Disciples. I'm so pleased to have you with me. Thank you for taking time to share your story with us this afternoon.
It's my pleasure. Thank you for inviting me.
You have got a fantastic story, and the cost of discipleship, the cost of following Jesus has really cost you. And I'd love you to share a little bit about how you came to faith and what following Jesus has meant for you in the impact it's made on your life.
Yeah. So I'm Mojtaba. I'm from Iran, a city called Shiraz, which is a southern city. I was 18 when I came to Christ. Before I give my heart to Jesus and surrender my life to Him, I had big issues in my life, family issues, some personal issues. Basically, my dad went bankrupt when I was a teenager, like 12 years old, and my brother went through a deep depression, and he became violent in the house, and we used to have a lot of fights. He's older than me, 6 years older than me, and he used to beat me a lot, and I was suffering from that situation in my house, and it was really difficult for me to cope with that situation as a teenager. Financially was a difficult situation, and also my relationship with my brother. After a while, I became full of anger and bitterness towards my brother, and made me really, really negative in my life. I couldn't trust anyone, and I just wanted to spend most of my time out of the house, and just spend my time with my group of friends. And because I was really negative, I chose negative friends and doing lots of negative activities. And just an example, I was wishing my brother going out of the house, and he never come back. By any reason, something happened to him and he died. And now when I look at back and see my heart condition, how dark it was, it is very sad. And I'm after a while, just before, like it was a few months before my 18th birthday, I was feeling really, really empty and hopeless. and I was just keep asking myself, what is the purpose of this life? Who am I? Why I'm on this earth, and where I'm going when I die? And according to the Islam religion, which is the religion of the country, and it couldn't help me at all. Also, it put lots of burden on me. Why? Because there are lots of rituals and rules you have to do all the time, and if you don't, if you're not perfect and not doing all of them, you feel you find yourself guilty before this God. So I was feeling a great distance between myself and God, and I was always telling myself, I'm going to hell. I know I'm the bad guy. I look at my lifestyle, and so thinking about God Himself and religion, it was hurting me, irritating me, and just also killing my hope. So I was feeling really lost, desperate. I remember one night, before I go to bed, for the first time in my life, very in an honest way and friendly way, in a humble heart, I prayed to God, and I said, God, I don't know who you are or what you are. I just assume you are the creator of heaven and earth. I don't care about religions. I don't care about holy people. I don't care about your imams, prophets. I'm just absolutely broken. And if you are there, please save me. And after a few days, I found my brother absolutely changed. He used to take some drugs, and he started to go into some like meetings to get rid of drugs, Narcotics Anonymous, they call it NA. And someone was Christian there and shared the gospel with him, and gave him some video disc about Christianity, and he prayed with that guy, and he was completely changed. My brother, who was always angry, being violent, and having this depression, for a few days I found him absolutely changed. He was really calm and kind, talking to me nicely, and I couldn't believe that. What has happened to him? It was really sweet experience to find him like this after a long time. And so I became really curious about that, and I felt it, that now I know that it was Holy Spirit sort of pushing me towards this subject, because naturally I was absolutely negative and dark, and I didn't like the God subject at all, and religion subject at all. And but one day I asked him to show me one of those videos about Christianity, and he played a video that two pastors was talking about Jesus, and the two pastors started like what Jesus has done for us on the cross, and all about gospel, the good news, and the salvation that Jesus can provide for us, and He can release us from the chains we have. And I feel, and especially the hope of future. And whatever they said, I said, it's absolute for me. I need this. And also I had a great peace in my heart as they were talking, and I felt I'm like a lost child. I'm coming back home. It was strange, but at the same time very familiar to me. But anyway, at the end of the video, the pastor made an invitation that if you want to accept this, you can pray with me. And I remember I just whispered the prayer with the pastor. And after the prayer, I experienced the most sweetest event in my life. Immediately after the prayer, I felt a great sense of peace and rest in my heart. And I could feel it, that it was like a great burden, heavy burden has taken away from my shoulders. And even physically, it touched me. My body was really lethargic. I could hardly move. And anyway, that day, as habit, I walked out my house, going to my friends, just like every day we seeing each other, doing nothing, just spend our time together. And I was walking and I look at the sky, the blue sky. I say, wow, it's beautiful. What a sky. Look at the trees, the green color, giving thanks to God for that. And basically, after a while, I found myself completely changed all the bad habits. My mouth was really dirty. I mean, I was swearing a lot because of the bitterness in my heart. But God healed my heart. He healed my relationship with my brother. Our house situation completely changed from a trouble. All the troubles just went, and the peace came to our heart, to our house. My dad gave his heart to Jesus. My sister, one of my sisters, gave her heart to Jesus. So a radical change happened in our life, just by the power of the prayer to Jesus and accept Him. And after that, every day I was grateful for what God had done in our life. And so I started to read Bible every day, and I left my group of my friends after 2 weeks. I couldn't smoke anymore. I couldn't do all the bad habits, especially pornography was the biggest one that God released me from this prison, literally. And after 15 years ago, and I decided to just find some Christians and just grow myself, to find myself more in this truth, that the new identity that Jesus gave me.
So you've come to faith, and then it's not long before you find yourself in prison.
Yeah.
And then a few years later, you find you're in prison again for 3 years.
Yeah.
Surely you've come to faith. Surely people filled with faith shouldn't be going to prison. What did you do to get yourself in prison?
Yeah. So some people might know that after the Islamic Revolution, Christians, they haven't been free for practice their faith. There is no enough rights for them, so they can't practice their faith. The government shut down all the churches, the buildings, and Christians have been forced to gather in their houses secretly. And because of that, they are in danger of being arrested. And I mean, it's illegal to have these activities. So I found a group of Christians. We started to gather together, and after 1 year that we had our fellowship, it was like 10 of us just gathering to share our faith and have the fellowship and worship our God together. And one day when I was in my house, the intelligence agent came to my house, and they arrested. They actually, at first, they searched my house. They collected everything about Christianity, and also some of my personal stuff, and they put handcuffs and blindfold on my face, and they took me and my brother and my dad and my sister to the intelligence service jail, and they put me in solitary confinement for 22 days. At that time, when I was 20, and they interrogated me about all our activities, people who coming to this house group, and all this stuff.
Yeah. And then you end up again for a 3-year period in prison for teaching the Bible.
Yeah.
And so there's a real cost for you. Jesus has cost you.
Yeah.
And the implication of that has to be huge for you. why did you stick with Jesus if he was going to cost you your freedom?
Yeah. Um, you know, in the second time when I was in prison, which was really, really harder, and like being far away my family, being constantly being in danger among the criminal people, my future wasn't clear at all, confusion about my future. And I mean the pain of prison itself is just beyond our imagination. I mean, it was a unique experience. I never could. I mean, it's like another world.
Yeah.
When you go in, the world in prison is another world. And I suffered a lot during that time, which I can't explain all of it now. But in the midst of that, one day I was praying, and still I remember this prayer, and I share it with people, and because it talk about my life, why I accepted all this situation. I prayed one day. I remember I was thinking about my life, and I was looking at past and praying like this, that I said, Jesus, the pain and suffering I have today in prison is not at all comparable with the pain and suffering being without you.
Mm.
I prefer to be in this pain, but not that pain. This pain is healing me. This pain is leading me to your embrace, which is eternal life. But that pain was leading me to the absolute darkness,
Yeah.
which is hell. Actually, I mean, the being meaningless, being hopeless and desperate, feeling lost, and no hope. And I mean, the situation I was struggling with, no one could change my brother except from Jesus. You know, no one could do that. And the changes that it happened to me, it was like it's a miracle. And it is my testimony. And not only my testimony, the testimony of thousands of people in Iran who encountered Jesus himself, and their life completely changed. And these people, ordinary people from a society of people who are absolutely oppressed, and they constantly suffer from the the corruption in government, and the all like the terrible economic situation, and people struggling with lots of mental issues and family issues. But there is a man who used to walk in Jerusalem streets 2000 ago, and he is still alive and walking in Iran's streets, and find people like Mojtaba who are desperate, and there is no hope for them in their religion, from their government, or from their traditions, from anything. And this man is just walking house by house and find the lost people and people who are in need, and just heal them. I mean, when I look at my life, how everything changed just with one prayer. Like Jesus said, you can feel the wind, but you can't tell where it comes from and where it goes. It will blow wherever it wants, you know. You can't understand it. And he said the people who they have new birth by the Holy Spirit, they like this. And I felt this new birth strongly.
Yeah.
I didn't understand from where it came, but I just felt it. And I can see it in my family's, my friends' lives, and many lives that we hear from Iran.
So the thing is, if you believe in Jesus as a historical figure, you were never going to allow your life to be taken for that historical figure. But where you encounter Jesus, the flesh and blood Jesus, you know his presence, you know him in your life, you can't walk away from that. And I love the way you said it. It's just too sweet a thing to let go of.
Yeah.
I love that. Your story is so wonderful, and there's so much trauma in there.
Yeah.
There's such presence of God's grace, mercy, and love. Just tell us, what is Jesus doing right now in Iran? What kind of things are people experiencing Jesus doing in their lives?
Yeah. So I hear from many people, they encounter Jesus in their dreams, you know, and also church, although the church is under a huge pressure and they're not free and they're so limited, but still they shine into the darkness by the love and grace that they show to people. I give an example that in the like the quarantine situation in the pandemic in Iran, the Christians try to like make food packs for people and like making masks and even with prayers for people, because it made some people humble to just give prayer requests, because they just want to try to find a way to survive. So through church, also God showed his power and his salvation to people. And it is interesting when we see that no one can stop God's grace. And I mean, Jesus, if I want to say, Jesus is alive and he's doing great things among Iranians, but still there are lots of issues that church from outside of church and also inside. There are lots of challenges they experience. You know, they constantly are in danger of going to prison and being separated from their family, or sort of fleeing from their country. Like me, I fled from my country, and the refugee. I became a refugee in Turkey for 3 years, and also this one, it was a big change in my life. And immigration for me wasn't easy, you know, leaving all my memories, all my country. My mom is, and 12 of my sisters are in Iran now, and it's just so difficult. But yeah, people taste a real thing. It's not just a face, you know what I mean? It's a real thing. And maybe it's message for the West, that maybe religion is useless, you know, but Jesus is alive. Jesus is active and working. God is alive. Maybe we are surrounded by lots of beautiful, it looks very intelligent ideas about this world and about everything, but Jesus is changing people in some countries like Iran that is absolutely oppressed by authorities.
We're going to run out of time in a moment. Tell us, is there one thing you would love us to know about, and what can we be praying about?
Yeah. So, I mean, our brothers and sisters in Iran who are in this situation and they're not free to practice their faith, maybe we can think about them more and listen to them more and see what we can do for them, and use any platform and just bring this awareness that government should stop this behavior towards Christians. They not deserve to be treated like this. Why someone like me should have handcuffs and blindfolded and go to prison. Why? Just I believe in Jesus and I worship God, and actually I from a bad person I became a good person. You know what I mean? And yeah, so maybe not only about their freedom, also they have lots of lessons in persecution, because the view that they have on some scriptures, maybe they can help and encourage us in our faith. And also, yeah, pray for them for any support, financial support, also spiritual support, you know, as they're going through lots of challenges. God strengthen them and help them more, and to go forward for his kingdom.
My friend, thank you so much for sharing your story, some of what's happening in Iran. I think if anybody wants to know more, particularly around what they can do, you know, Open Doors is Google Open Doors. Go to their website. It doesn't matter what country you are in, you'll find a website for them.
Yeah.
I absolutely adore the work of Open Doors, and have really appreciated spending time with all of the team and what they're doing. So please, if you're watching this, listening to this today, and you want to know more about what you can do, how you can pray, how you can respond, then please just go to the Open Doors website. They'll give you things for prayer, as well as what we've heard just now. They'll give you information, up-to-date information as well. So please do just check out the Open Doors website. Thank you so much for your time. I think what I really appreciate about your story is you are so lovely. You are so gentle, and what you have been through because of your faith, for many would have hardened them, become bitter, frustrated, angry. Actually, the way you speak about Jesus is so beautiful. It inspires me, and I hope and pray that those that, you know, watch this and sharing this with me will be inspired to turn up the temperature a little bit on their faith. Take Jesus just a little bit more seriously. To allow him to really control the trajectory and the shape of their lives. Sometimes we're a bit too lukewarm, and actually we need to turn it up a bit. Jesus is real, and he changes lives.
And he's alive. Yes, amen.
Mate, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate you giving it to me.
That was absolutely my pleasure.
Grace and peace.
Thank you.